Nathan Judah. I'm here with Express and Star reporter Mr. Joe Edwards. Joe, I've just come back from holiday. Apparently Wolves are buying Portugal, the country. They're buying everyone. What is going on? It's a little bit cray-cray at the moment.
It's a bit wild, just to say the least. I think this is going to happen quite a lot now.
We knew this was going to happen, didn't we?
Any player with, a Portuguese player worth the salt, perhaps looking for a move, Wolves are going to be linked.
Yeah.
Because obviously George Mendes, the links there. We saw it with Andre Silva. We saw it with a lad named Pele or whatever his name was. And now we've seen it again. And there does seem to be kind of some substance to these, to these ones.
There's a little bit of truth here and there. There's a little bit of Chinese whispers, and there's a little bit of 2 and 2 equals 4, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of kind of roundabout ways. There's players that have been on loan at clubs and then they're going back to the parent club. Do they want to stay there? Will they go back to the loan club permanently? Wolves swooping. It's stuff that we're not really that used to.
Yes.
But abroad, across Europe and in Italy, Spain, Portugal, it's quite commonplace.
And this is something that Mendes has been doing for fun. I'll say for fun, but you can say that from his massive sailboat in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. He has been doing it for fun, but he's been doing this for a long time, and this is when you get someone of his calibre in there and into a club like Wolves, this is what's going to happen. And it's exciting and it's frustrating, but ultimately it's proved profitable.
Yeah, and this time of the year, Wolves fans would be reading, going and seeing, who are we linked with today? Yeah. And almost every day there's going to be a new name, I suspect. Players that are going to World Cups. This just represents the phenomenal few years that Wolves have had. From no disrespect, but going from the George Savills of the world to people like
George
to people like Goncalo, Guedes, Rui Patricio. These are players that are going to the World Cup. This is just a crazy turnaround. It's just exciting to see what's going to happen.
Absolutely is. So let's go through a few of these rumours. We'll see where we are. We'll see where we're standing. Obviously, we've got some developments, and we'll just have a bit of a chat, general chat. Okay. So first of all, this came out obviously very recently, overnight. Benik Afobe, everybody's thought they signed Benik Afobe. He proved to Wolves what he can do. He proved to Nuno what he can do. He scored some important goals between January and the end of the season. Signed, happy days, best day of his life. £10 million could be gone without kicking a ball.
Yeah.
That is in itself quite shocking. How viable is him moving from Wolves?
I think this is probably the most likely of the ones that are coming up, to be honest. And I know it's a difficult one to fathom. Obviously, Benik is very much well respected in these parts for his contributions in the Wolves shirt. Seems to love playing for Wolves as well. That's an affiliation with a lot of the squad. Good friends with like Matt Doherty and quite a few of the others. He's kind of been maybe not ingrained into the club, but he's been a big part of things over the past few years across his 2 spells. But it could soon be off. And we've seen these kind of situations before. Again, not with Wolves, but we have seen it in England as well. I recall a similar situation with Matej Vydra, who'd had a lot of loan spells, and Watford had bought him on a permanent basis finally from having him on loan from one of the other Pozzo clubs, and then pretty much sold him straight away, I think to Reading. So this thing does happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a question of people saying, well, what's the point buying him permanently if you're going to sell him on straight away? Well, it could well be looking at a couple of million profit.
Yeah.
And some might question, if you're a club of, the financial clout that Wolves have now, what's a couple of million? But it's business at the end of the day. It's business, and any profit that can be had, represents a good deal. So, it's not, absolutely surprising to me. And there's also an element that at Bournemouth, he seemed very much out of their plans. And with the manner of his exit in January, saying he was very emotional, and spoke to a couple of reporters down there, he pretty much broken the relationship with Bournemouth fans. They weren't going to welcome him back with open arms. So I think Wolves have done him a favour either way. For Afobe, yes, you want to know where you stand. You don't want to know where you're going to end up. But for me, for one way of looking at it, he's laughing either way. It's a win-win situation for him. He's either going to be at a Premier League club again with a chance to prove himself, or there's talk of Stoke, there's talk of a couple of other Championship clubs. He's going to have a chance to really
be the main man,
and lead a possible charge back to the Premiership. Plus, he's going to have 2 signing-on fees in his back pocket. So,
fair play, to be fair, yeah.
We talk about sentiment and, loyalty in football. It does appear to be fading away from the game, and that is true. From what I've seen over the past few years, there doesn't seem to be a lot of it these days. It's a very business-orientated game. If Benik does move on, it wouldn't shock me entirely. If he does stay, best of luck to him. But we'll see how that one develops. But if Wolves make a profit, because Nuno, he didn't seem convinced, did he?
I think that's exactly true. I think it took him a long time to even start Benik Afobe. Everyone thought he was going to come straight into the side. Obviously, with Bonatini struggling at that time, he didn't. He relied on what he had and what he'd worked with, and he never got that impression that he was entirely convinced, even when he was starting. Which leads you to believe that there's 2 questions here that I've got for you then, Joe. The first question is, have Wolves bought Benik Afobe knowing that, with the intent of selling him straight away, or is this, some people will say, a power struggle within Wolves internally, and that maybe it's been okayed with one person, but then the manager doesn't fancy it, and then they're going to move him on because of that, and it's maybe there's something not wrong behind the scenes, so to speak.
I'd like to think it's more the first one of those, because I think it'd be a case of sitting down at Afobe and saying, right, we're gonna get you in on a permanent basis, inverted commas, but and saying, look, there's a possibility that if somebody comes in with a good bid, that we could sell you on. Not stating anything concrete, but making him aware of what could happen.
Sure.
I don't think it'd be fair, to say to him, you're going to be part of our plans, or you're not going to be part of our plans, because if you were saying that and signing him permanently, you'd think, well, what's going on? I think it would have been a case of, signing him, explaining the situation that, frankly, anything's possible,
right,
and allowing him to move on from that. Because at the end of the day,
and like you say, it's a win-win for him.
It's a win-win, and he wants to be playing football. If he does it with Wolves, fantastic. If he does it in the Championship with say Stoke, and they're believed to be interested, Gary Rowett's on the lookout for a striker
to lead them back
in the Premier League, and honestly, wherever he ends up,
side of Berahino.
Some people were suggesting a swap deal. Absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance. But
instead of a £12 million deal, it becomes a £16 million deal. Sorry, Sido. I'm not really that sorry.
But we'll see what happens. But Afobe, it's a tough one. But these situations have happened before, as we say, just not with Wolves really.
I mean, you've talked about to go on, but it is a very interesting subject. So I think it's worth having a chat about in detail. You talk about on deadline day, and Afobe obviously being, you're a big Wolves fan as well, sat in the car waiting for the call from his agent in tears. I mean, is all that a little bit of showmanship? Or from a psyche point of view, if you think I've finally got I'm playing for Wolves in the Premier League, I've got my dream move, I'm a Wolves man, I've always wanted to be with Wolves. Oh no, you're not. You're going to Stoke, you're going to Derby, you're off, you're getting sold. From a mental point of view and an ethical point of view, so to speak, is that the right thing for a player? Because people, they're passed around like pieces of meat sometimes, the players, and of course you've got well, it doesn't matter, does it? They're on 40, 50 grand a week. I mean, when he originally left Wolves and he had that big, saw the tweet and obviously the whole situation where he didn't leave Wolves in a great situation, and he bit back. Does this mess with him moving forward, or do you think it's absolutely fine?
There is
a long question.
There is always an element to that, isn't there? And the players, you do see them sometimes, and it's just often that they're treated like another spark on the wheel, which, in the grand scheme of things, they kind of are really. As I say, it's such a business-orientated kind of approach to football these days. So many different people involved. Of course, Mendes having a heavy influence on Wolves. So many agents, so many different managers, changes of managers. He probably wouldn't have been. He might not have been a target of Stoke before, but now Rowett's gone in and he's identified him as a target. It's just so many different factors that play into it these days. With Afobe, of course, that the last minute, return and the manner of his exit. There's quite, there is a lot of emotional ties with Wolves. It does seem, but it does. A part of me seems to think that they do kind of have his best interests at heart.
Yeah.
For me at Bournemouth, he was 4th, 5th choice. Similar situation with Lewis Graben. And it seems like if a bid came in for him, they could have played a bit of hardball or something. If Wolves have him, they kind of have Afobe's best interests at heart.
Sure.
I'd like to think that he knows where he stands, and he would have known that this was a possibility all along.
And like you say, clubs not just on the continent, but there's clubs here that have been doing it for a long time as well. Maybe not in such a short space of signing him and selling him, but your likes of Chelsea's and Manchester City's, you see a lot of players never playing for the club, and then they're getting sold at a big profit. So Wolves are just probably joining the pack, aren't they? And it is new to Wolves fans, and it is new when you see it, especially from a club that's come from the Championship. But you know the money behind them, and fair play.
Yeah, and it's adjusting with the times, and it's, as you said, that these big boys have done it for years on end now. Chelsea, you'll see them every summer that they'll allow now to about 40 players or something absolutely ridiculous. They could probably make about 3 or 4 teams. The players have actually got in the books. And we're seeing it now with the players that they're being linked with, your Joao Cancelos and Goncalo, Guedes, Rui Patricio. A lot of these players have, Wolves would be linked with Cancelo, who's a Valencia player, but he spent all of last season at Inter. What kind of standing does he have at Valencia? It's all very roundabout and all quite confusing, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of layers to it all. But it's just Wolves, a case of adapting with the times and doing what's been so successful for other clubs.
Last question about Benik Afobe, I promise. Last question, okay? The other situation with this, and let's say, but there's no guarantee that Benik Afobe is going to leave. He could still be a Wolves player. But when people saw Benik Afobe signed, they said he's going to be a good backup. He's going to be a good backup to the squad. He's going to be a good second striker or third striker, depending on what Wolves do in the summer. If Wolves do sell Benik Afobe, they have 0 strikers at the club. Pretty much 0 strikers at the club. Yeah. Okay, you've got your Costa Jota Cavalleros, your 3, but Paul Joe Mason, Rafa Mir. Yeah. I mean, these aren't players who are going to be playing in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So, if Wolves do sell him, they must be flipping confident that they are going to have not 1 but 2. That there must be 2 very much nailed, signed, sealed and delivered. Now you've got the World Cup on the horizon as well, so you've got to think that they want to get some players in before that, because fees could be going, like they had a couple of good games against no marks, they score a couple of goals and all of a sudden 10 or 15 million more expensive. So if they do sell Benik Afobe, and they are talking about it and it is very realistic that they could sell him, they must have a couple of big name targets ready to go and almost certain.
Yeah, you've got to think, as we were talking about Wolves being clever in the dealings, a potential making a couple million profit and being clever and being, financially, smart. Yeah. You've got to think that, there's a contingency plan, there's a backup plan. If we're selling Afobe, we've got 1 or 2 pretty much nailed on, as you say. Yeah. You'd like to think that these are players that are coming in, perhaps from the continent, really. It's hard to think of, a Premier League, say, striker that they could go out and get. But we've seen the likes of Andre Silva. That's the one that's been linked. I think he's been linked with Huddersfield as well this week. So there seems to be a suggestion that he may end up in the Premier League. But if you wanted to get a deal done for him, it would have to be before the World Cup, because he's going. And as you say, if he scores a few goals against some lesser nations, and he's gonna skyrocket. So you'd like to think Wolves, if they're going to get this one done quickly, get a replacement done quickly as well. That, fingers crossed. If that happens, that's the way it goes.
First game of the season, Manchester City away. Wolves strike up front. I'll tell you who it's going to be. Duckins Nazon.
Feed the duck.
Feed the duck and he will score. Right, okay, let's move on. We move on. Right, Mr. Rui Patricio.
Yeah.
Not a bad goalkeeper, is he, to be fair?
Not at all.
I think we'd probably take him.
I think I would. I did a video not long back about all the Butland talk. And I said, for 35 million, I think you can find somebody better.
Yeah.
And for
half that price.
For half that price.
Yeah.
And they're talking about 18 million euros for Patricio. Portuguese number 1. He's been Sporting's number 1 for several years.
Yeah.
very, very messy situation involving him at Sporting. He's asked for a contract termination.
Of course it is. Yeah.
You know, he reckons he's been attacked psychologically and physically by the club supporters because the hierarchy has turned the supporters against the players. It's
What is it, psychologically and physically?
Yeah, both.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like working with Spears on a day-to-day basis, isn't it?
But he reckons that, you know, the situation's untenable.
Mm-hmm.
He has to have a move, and of course then Mendes comes in. You know,
Yeah, of course he does.
Swiftly he comes in.
Oh, boys, anyone not happy?
And but apparently the big stumbling block is that Mendes, of course, wants to look after himself.
Yes.
He wants a decent cut of whatever fee that there would be, and whether.
It looks a bit pale, George, when I saw him last time at Barnsley. He needs to top up that tan, to be fair, so you can understand
I'm
it.
sure he'd be somewhere like Dubai at this time of year, wouldn't he? But yeah, he apparently wants a hefty cut of the fee. And
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, it looks like he's going to move on. Whether it's going to be Wolves, there's been talk of Napoli.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that would be one, just because of how many factors are involved.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, whether it'll be done quickly,
Yeah.
it seems like one that could rumble on throughout the summer.
I mean, from a Wolves point of view, if they start him, that is an absolute coup. I mean, of course, John Ruddy did a great job last year. You know, he did come under criticism at times, was in the team of the season. At the same time, you've got to think that, and we have identified it, I spoke with Tim at the end of the season with the season reviews, that they probably will look for a goalkeeper. I mean, this is a realistic position that you'd think they would look to strengthen. I mean, to get the Portuguese number one would be superb. And you can see a lot of the polls, you can see all the Portuguese influence as there are with a lot of these players. How much of a boost would that be to Wolves signing someone like Rui Patricio?
It'd be a massive boost, and I've said it before that Nuno, being a former goalkeeper himself, would, you know, no matter how well that Ruddy, you know, has done, and I do like Will Norris as well, the backup keeper, he's always going to be on the lookout. And, you know, this kind of situation, if Patricio comes available, it's one that you can't turn a blind eye to.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how many different factors are involved, what kind of money that you're talking, if it turns out to be that it's out of Wolves' price range, if wages are too much, whatever, you've got to have a look at him, because this is a chap that he's been Portugal's number one keeper. He won the Euros a couple of years ago. He's going into the World Cup as Portugal's number one. He's got, you know, Champions League, Europa League experience. This is a guy that's, you know, done it at, you know, top levels of the game.
Yeah.
He's proven that he's a top goalkeeper. If there's any you know, possibility, a crumb of possibility of signing this chap, you've got to look at it.
Absolutely, and we look at Sporting Club and we understand that. Speaking to a few people, I mean, they are in dire straits financially. I mean, they have to sell. They have to get some money back. You can see it. I mean, you know, not a lot of clubs have got 18, 90 million pounds just to spend on a goalkeeper. I mean, if it happens, that is just a tremendous bit of business, I think. Now, what I would say to you on the other side of things, with the likes of John Ruddy and Benik Afobe, who are obviously very well liked in the changing room, they've got that contingent, you know, of English players or European players with the talent, and they get on very, very well. If you are bouncing these people out, okay, Benik, you signed, but you've gone. If you John Ruddy did a great job, but you're going to be number 2 next year. How much does that upset the apple cart in the dressing room when you see a lot of these players coming in and a lot of the Portuguese lads, you know, being replaced? And will that have an effect, or is that just something that's part and parcel of Premier League football now?
I mean, with egos involved in the game, I think it's always going to have some sort of, you know, it's going to naturally rub a couple of people the wrong way. But as you say, I think it's part and parcel of the game.
Yeah.
Matt Doherty's been speaking recently, and he says that, you know, he expects big names, you know, for quite substantial fees to be joining. And I don't think the Wolves players are, you know, they're not silly.
Yeah.
They know the ambitions of the club. They know that there's going to be more, you know, big names and, you know, for, as we say, for big prices coming through the door. And I know it may upset a few along the way, but, you know, everybody's just seemed to have bought so much into what Nuno's been doing. I think they kind of realise it's the grand scheme of things. I think everybody's bought into that. So I don't think it would offend too many people.
But this isn't a club that are going to try and finish 17th in the table, are they?
No.
You know, when they're talking about these players and whether one of them, whether two of them, whether all of them, whether none of them come, the ambition is not just survival. They want to do something. They want to do something quickly, don't they? Now, I'm not talking about going to European football in the first year, but I think they'll want to give it a good go, won't they? And these are the sort of players that are going to do that.
Yeah, I think the kind of aim would be, around that mid-table mark. Kind of if they're getting about 10th, 11th, 12th. I think that's kind of the, not to say minimum, but obviously the take staying up.
Sure.
Obviously that's not the aim, but just to stay up. But I think that would be where they're kind of looking at, just bed in nicely, and then look to push on from there. It's,
1 year in the Premier League with that money, you stay 1 more year in there, and the world's your oyster financially.
Yeah, it's for these clubs now that get into the Premier League. I know the clubs have came down this year, your Albions and your Swanseas and Stokes, but they had been in there for several years. Once you've got in there and you've got that financial footing, it's things have to go pretty catastrophically to drop out. Yeah. So that first year, kind of get themselves, a good footing, a good financial footing, and a good place in the table. I think as you say, the world's the oyster.
Who's this right back kid? Never heard of him.
This is another one, Joao Cancelo, and he's a Portuguese lad. He's not going to the World Cup.
No.
So.
Yeah, well,
is he worth his son?
Just saw him in Dudley driving by today. That's why I'm going to World Cup.
So he's a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
He spent last season on loan at Inter Milan. He's a Valencia player. There's talk of another big fee for this chap, and there's talk of Man City, Man United,
and Wolves.
And this is going to happen.
There's your 1, 2, 3 next season.
This is going to happen now, and a couple of years ago you wouldn't have dreamt of this, but any player for a big fee, people know that Wolves are ambitious.
Yeah. And
Wolves' name is going to be thrown into the ring. I think over the past few years, West Ham have been linked with a lot of players, and I think Wolves are going to be that club this year that gets chucked into the hat for a lot of names. Cancelo, he's a player that's been on loan from Benfica to Valencia, then made that switch permanent. I think if the Wolves were to explore a deal for him, I think they'd go down the route that they've gone down with your Jotas and your Costas, where it'd perhaps be a loan with a view to a permanent. I don't think that they'd want to be spending that much money on a right back, particularly when Matt Doherty played so well this season.
Yeah, and this is the decision, isn't it, that they're going to have with the likes of Matt Doherty, with Barry Douglas. Have they earned their shot to start in the Premier League because they've been so good, or if you're going to sign and they need cover at left wing back and right wing back, absolutely they do. Do you sign someone who and move them down and have them as backup, or do you sign someone and let them compete to it? If you're going to bring someone like Cancelo and he's probably going to start, you're going to spend 35 million quid on him.
Yeah. You'd like to think that kind of money would be going on different areas. So, if you're a supporter, you want to see if 35 million is going to be invested. Yeah. You don't want it for a right back that. Yeah, he could start, but who's saying that he's going to be any better than Doherty? You want somebody that you look at, as you say, the situation up front is looking a bit like either with or without a Benik Afobe.
Yeah.
So you'd like to think that kind of money would be invested in the front end of the pitch, or perhaps a more attacking midfield kind of player, to kind of support a Neves and. We'll see what happens, but for me, 35 million pound, 40 million euros. Those are the kind of figures floating about for a right back that played 25 times for Inter Milan last season. It just doesn't seem quite all right for me.
Right. Okay. At the same time, formerly of Benfica, he's got the Mendes connections, isn't he? Valencia, loans to Inter Milan, formerly of Benfica.
Just a few clients.
Like you said, we're talking about that 2+2 again.
Yeah.
I wonder with Cancelo, and we're going to go on to Guedes in a minute, that yes, you're not going to sign both of them. I think it's almost impossible you're going to sign both of them on a permanent basis. If you talk about 70 million quid or whatever, that's about 70 million quid. But they've done it so well with Jota, with Costa, with Bolly, and plenty of others where they've signed these players on loan. Okay, perhaps not, Neves, but look what happened there. Did all right, to be fair to him. They've signed them on loan. They're obviously the clubs want to sell. They need to get them. They'll pay the wages with a view to a permanent deal or a guarantee to a permanent deal if and when. The contracts and Wolves have been so smart in signing these contracts. If we stay in the Premier League, we'll give you the money, or. There's a lot that can happen that can still get them there without paying that transfer fee, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's it. And it's this is the kind of continental way that things have been done for quite a few years. Italy have been, kind of a classic example. I think they were kind of the trendsetters for it, of signing players on view to permanence, and then it's kind of seeped its way through into other leagues. I mean, you see it all across the country and all across the continent now. They can bonuses as well. Different kind of incentives, as you say. If they stay up, then they pay it. If they're down, then they're down. So it's Cancelo. It could happen, and this Guedes guy as well. I mean, he's going off to the World Cup, and we can't say for sure whether or not these deals are going to happen. There's just so many factors at play. But the one thing that I think we can pretty much all say is that Wolves would be interested in players of this quality. And naturally, because if players like this become available, and as you say, they've got Mendes links. They've got links to Valencia, who of course Nuno managed. He'll probably know people there as well. So when you throw in those into the mix, Wolves are going to be interested. Whether they can actually go through on all of these deals, no, naturally they won't, because they can't sign everyone. As much as we'd like it, can't sign everyone.
Yeah, unless you're on Chapman, you can do it. But at the same time, look, we could be here next week because Tim's off for a couple of weeks now, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. We could be next week. We'll talk about 3 or 4 more players, at 20, 30, 40 million. So, you've got to take some things with a pinch of salt. But I mean, there is interest here, isn't there? I mean, there are a few little, facts and a few little things kicking about that you think that yes, there's definitely interest in some of these players for sure.
Yeah, and had the Portuguese experiment not gone so well, with your Jotas and your Neveses, Caballeros, Costas, there would be that, you'd probably think they're not that interested, but it has worked for Wolves in the main.
The model's worked.
The model has worked, and if you know something's successful and if you've got an opportunity to carry that on, you're going to try and do it. There's been
almost at another level. You've got your championship level where it's worked, and if you're signing these players that are even bigger and these more well-known players, because a lot of these Portuguese players were a little bit unknown, let's be honest, coming into the club, and then all of a sudden, yes, of course, they're fantastic, but you're relying on Mendes' knowledge and Nuno's knowledge of these players. Now you're going to your upper top tier of household names here,
fully fledged internationals, aren't they? These are players that have, as we say, have played in top leagues.
Yeah.
Now, the other players, your Costas and your Jotas and people like that, were players who had kind of done it in flashes, had showed flashes of potential. These are players that have proven that they are players of quality.
Yeah.
So, there's been a few exceptions to the rule.
Of course there has. You have a few bum notes, but they haven't paid lots of money for those bum notes.
And they've covered the back. So, these kind of outlays, whether, Wolves can, be spending 30, kind of keep stockpiling players, probably not.
Yeah.
Because no matter how rich a club is, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So loans with view to permanent deals, I think we're going to see that method adopted again, because, as we say, it's worked so well for them over the past couple of years.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to one more. Gonçalo Guedes. It's a never-ending list here. Left winger and Portuguese. He's going to the World Cup though.
Yeah.
He's Gonçalo, to be fair to him. Well done.
Left wing, he's probably not going to get into the team, is he? He's got decent competition.
Yeah.
A certain Cristiano Ronaldo. But, he could well play. He's another lad that's been at Valencia on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. He's kind of left-sided player. I think he can play, kind of across that front three.
Yes.
But he's, they're talking, again, £39 million to €45 million. Some, whatever the exchange rate is at the moment. But, again, big fee. A lad that I think he's about 23, 24 years of age, so it does kind of fit the mould. He's not a player
young, still got
some legs in them, and can represent an opportunity to profit on their investments as well. So let's see how that one plays out. At the moment, it's just difficult to keep up because there's so many names coming up, and there's going to be more. Going to be more. Especially if a few decent players have good World Cups for Portugal as well, and if they become available, we'll see Wolves link with them too.
And you've always got agents as well. I mean, even if the clubs aren't available, you've always got an agent trying to make a quick buck. Not just Mendes. Not saying he's trying to make a quick buck, but there's other agents here. Wolves will be receiving a lot of phone calls this time. Last season they probably have to make a lot, but this time they can just sit back. A lot of them, they're still scouting, of course they are, but at the same time, people want to go to Wolves now, don't they? They can see what's happening. They can see, okay, they've got Fosun, they've got big money behind them, they've got Mendes, they've got a good squad of players. This is a very attractive club to come to.
Yeah, this is not just your average team coming up into the Premier League. This is one that is perhaps haven't, like I said, we want to finish top half.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knows it's the open secret as to Wolves' ambitions. They want to be, a big force in the years to come, and they're not just, coming in to make up the numbers. They're coming in to make an impact, and players want to be part of that. It's an exciting prospect.
Yeah.
They saw how they stormed the Championship last year. They're riding the crest of a wave at the moment, and players want to join that. Players who are looking to reinvigorate their careers, and players looking to build on their reputations as well. So they're not going to be short of people interested. It's just a case of sifting through, the realistic targets and people that, probably are a bit either wages or, transfer fees are at this point maybe represent too much of a risk.
And that's it's quite good you've said that, because I think with Nuno, and even Nuno's admitted that last season, yes, they signed all these players and it worked out, but they did get a little bit lucky last year with injuries, with players clicking and how well they did, and how they played some superb football. They don't, and you can't afford to really gamble with that in the Premier League and try and get lucky. You need to have your proven players, because if you gamble with that and it doesn't work out, you're going straight back down to the Championship, regardless of what kind of a squad you've got. So you can understand why they want a little bit more tried and tested people who can come and will be comfortable with Premier League football pretty quickly. They can adapt with it.
Yeah, and even if it's not players that have played in the Premier League, because we've seen this now, that even players that have with Premier League experience, even if they're not, massively proven, there's a bit of a premium on their price tags. It does seem to be a bit of an easier, perhaps a little bit cheaper route to go to the continent and bring in players that, yes, they haven't played in the Premier League, but they've played in top leagues around Europe, and they are, although there might be a little bit of bedding in, they can pretty much, hit the ground running. So we'll see what happens. It's exciting times. Wolves fans are, absolutely, rubbing their palms at the moment, just thinking what's going to happen. Just so excited. And I think there's reason for that excitement. Wolves are going to be aiming big, and there's probably going to be a couple of big signings this summer.
It's just an incredible time to be a Wolves fan. Fixtures come out next Thursday, Premier League fixtures as well. So just unbelievable. So our Benik Afobe, Patricio, Cancelo, Guedes. Well, where not here to rank them, but you would think that Afobe is probably the most likeliest of something to happen sooner rather than later. Yes. Maybe Patricio, or do you think this is going to be an ongoing thing? I think
that'd be an ongoing thing with him, and Guedes as well. I can't see that'd be sorted. Whoever's looking at his situation is going to be looking after him, client wise. Are going to be thinking, well, if he can have a good World Cup, we can add a few million on. So I think those kind of players that are going to the tournaments, their situations are going to rumble on.
And Ken Cancelo said as much, hasn't he? That look, we'll try and get some business done, but you're going to have to be patient, because that's when. And if you play the waiting game, as much as player prices, especially pre-World Cup and during World Cup, they're up there. But then you might have to just wait last minute and get some of these players. And okay, well, I want 20 million, I want 80 million euros, I want 35 million euros. Bloody hell, there's 2 days left before the deadline's gone. Okay, we'll accept a loan deal. So they've got to be smart as well, and they have been smart and have shown that they can do that. And they can be ruthless in the transfer market, and that's something that Wolves could quite well do. Right the way until the end of the summer.
Yeah, I think it's a case of slow and steady wins the race, isn't it? You can't rush into things. There's a lot of factors to play with, and if sometimes you can rush in too early, and then say somebody even has a bad World Cup, you can get for a couple million cheap.
Absolutely,
albeit you want to play on form, but as we say, it's so business orientated these days. If there's any smidgen of getting somebody for a little bit cheaper, you're going to try and take it and just play the hard game. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a long summer, but an exciting summer as well.
A long and exciting summer, a bit like this video, long and exciting. this has gone on. Look, I hope you've enjoyed it. I know there's so much to discuss. We've been away for a little bit, so hopefully giving insight into where things are, where we think things are, and we'll join you tomorrow when we discuss Ronaldo coming to Molineux. Make sure you log on to Express and Star for all the latest transfer news.